Putin was talking about the fact that there are 1,200 miles of front line currently in the Ukraine war between Russia and Ukraine. That's about the distance from New York to Miami, almost the entire East Coast. And he's also asking questions about who's going to guarantee the ceasefire, who's going to monitor the agreement for violations, what is the authority, is there an international peace? Is it sensors? How does it work? Drones, etc. And of course, Vladimir Putin visiting Kursk, the region, just a few hours ago, really just yesterday, wearing fatigues for the first time since the war began, and donning those after a strong, very strong Russian victory in the Kursk region, mirroring, of course, though on a much smaller scale, the great Battle of Kursk in World War II, which is fought over the very same terrain, although in that case, we had upwards of 2.2 million soldiers, both from the Nazis and the Soviets combined, as well as about 6,000 armored vehicles, 6,000 tanks. And so I want to bring Gavin Wax back in here. Gavin, President Trump, I think, understands the overall peace picture here and understands that ultimately the biggest players in this are not NATO and Ukraine, the way the media would have us believe, but it really kind of does come down to a proxy fight between the U.S. and Russia. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he understands that this is great power politics, and the only two state actors that matter are the United States and Russia. And I think the Russians recognize that. I think the Europeans are obviously upset about that. But at the end of the day, they're pretty much vassal states of the United States at this point. They don't really have any military, capabilities to speak of. Their economy is a fraction of what ours is, and they may be, trying to recreate a European Grand Army under Macron and trying to revitalize German military industry, but this is all far too little, far too late. They were never in a position to be dictating the terms of this conflict, certainly not the terms of peace. This was always going to be a discussion between the United States and Russia, or a man-to-man between President Trump and Putin, and that's what we're beginning to see. And I think, look, as time goes on, it's becoming clear that this conflict is unwinnable for the Ukrainians, and the position of the West and the position of the United States needs to be, how do we come to the table and get the best possible deal for both Ukraine and the West? And I think that's what we're going to have to discuss at the negotiating process. There are obviously some red lines that Russia and Putin have drawn, and where they're willing to acquiesce and where they're not is going to be determined through this process. But at least we're having this process, which in and of itself is a massive development